It is just about 1 o'clock. It is 1 o'clock, so we're going to get started in just a moment. First of all, everyone's microphone is muted, so if you need to ask any questions, you need to either unmute your microphone or you can also type it in the chat. It looks like we have 13 or so people here with us. So because it can be a little bit difficult with 13 people to take questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause every now and again to see if anyone has any questions. And then you can either ask your question by unmuting your microphone, or you can type it into the chat, okay? So does anyone have any questions before we get started? I'll give folks just a moment in case we have some questions. Awesome, we are now up to 15 people.
Can I say happy St. Patrick's Day?
My mom would like to say happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Yes, we are indeed working from home, where I am at least. All right, I don't hear any questions. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We are now up to 18 people. So for folks who just joined us, because there's a lot of noise, I've muted everyone's microphone. We have a large number of people. So we've got now up to 18 people. So I'm gonna stop periodically if folks have questions. Just remember to unmute and then remute your microphone after your question so that we can cut down on background noise when we have a meeting with this many people in it, okay? Fantastic. All right. Can everyone see the OneDrive screen? It says Introduction to OneDrive. Okay, we are going to get started. Okay, our goals for today. We're going to go over a whole bunch of things. We're going to talk about what OneDrive is, why you might use it. We're going to go over how to use it, how to upload, download files, how to share documents with folks, how to share whole folders full of documents, how to unshare. It's a little weird, but it's not that hard. How to find your stuff, how to find stuff that you've shared, how to find things people have shared with you, and how to print from your OneDrive, which you'd be surprised, we actually get quite a bit of questions about that. OneDrive is pretty awesome for sharing documents, but a little tricky when it comes to printing. So we're going to go over that. And again, like I said, I'm going to stop periodically to see if anyone has any questions. Do we have any questions before we continue? It looks like we are now up to 18 people in the training, which is awesome. Thank you everybody for coming. Okay. And just a little note, at the end, I can take a whole bunch of questions. And from the last session, if folks need to, we can also schedule one-on-ones where I can help you remotely and we can go over whatever your specific question is. So if you don't have a question for the group, feel free to email me afterwards and we can talk about it one-on-one. So what is OneDrive? Well, it's an internet-based file storage. It's in the cloud. That means that you need to have internet access in order to use OneDrive. It's part of the Microsoft Office Online Suite, okay? Which means that it's part of the whole kit and caboodle with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneDrive facilitates sharing, collaboration, and there's all kinds of other similar products to it. Google Drive, Box.com, Dropbox, there's all kinds of different competitors. They all pretty much do the same thing. They just do it with their own unique way. So now I'm going to show a little video on OneDrive. The audio might be a little bit lagged, a little delayed, so just hang in there. And I'm going to take some questions after this, okay?
Home is where we keep the things we need. Whether it's a lawnmower or a coffee pot, it has a home in our lives. Of course, our documents are no different. For years, they lived on our computers. Each person has their own computer-based home for documents. When we need to share a document, we usually attach it to an email and send it to a friend's or coworker's computer home. Here's the problem. When you attach a document to an email, copies are created. Consider this. If you send an email attachment to 3 people, the same document will exist in 4 different places. That's a problem. There's a better way, and it means saying goodbye to messy email attachments. This new kind of home isn't on your computer, it's on the internet. And that makes sharing and collaborating on documents much easier and gives you full control over who can see and access your documents. Here's the basic idea. Instead of attaching a document to an email, let's switch it around and look at how we can attach an email address to a document. Meet Sam. Sam is the editor of a neighborhood newsletter called the Oak Tree View. She works with local writers who would like to publish articles in the newsletter. Sam loves her job, but often feels frustrated when time is wasted managing all the articles. It's a familiar problem. Each month, writers send her draft articles as email attachments. She reviews them and sends them back with comments. One article might create 6 different versions of the same file, not to mention countless emails. Sam often feels buried by all the email attachments. She finds it hard to keep track of all the versions being sent to her from the writers. As the deadline looms, frustration rises. Something has to give. Sam decides to try something.
All right, so there we are with some little bit about how the cloud works. So now, why would we use OneDrive? One reason is so you can access your files anywhere. And you can also use it to share your files with anyone, including people who are not from BCC, and I'm going to show how to do that. You can also edit files, certain types of files, directly from a computer when you don't even have Microsoft Office installed. And it works well as a backup. So, does anyone have any questions before we go over? I believe next we're going to go over how to log into your OneDrive. Again, if you have questions, just unmute your microphone and ask, or you can use the text chat. All right, going
Christian,
once. Yes.
Christian, this is Ellis. I have a question.
Yes, Ellis.
What makes utilizing the OneDrive better than, say, particularly as it pertains to a backup solution, as opposed to a thumb drive?
Well, one of the great things about using OneDrive as a backup is that once it's in the cloud, it's really, really hard to lose. It's really hard to lose that backup. With a flash drive, you can forget it in a computer. We found lost flash drives left in computers all the time in the digital commons. Also, I've had flash drives myself go through the laundry before. If you're careful, you can still use them afterwards. But the point is once you put it in the cloud, it's up in the cloud and it's really, really hard to lose. So that's one of the reasons why it's such a good backup solution. Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit about the OneDrive app. The OneDrive app makes it super easy to essentially suck all of your work files into any other computer you use. Does that make sense?
Sure it does. So I have one more question as far as the security. So I've had, and it may very well be due to my ignorance, but I've had some reservations about putting documents on the OneDrive, particularly from a security standpoint. Now that may be a topic you're going to get into, so if so, then I can wait. But so maybe you can talk about security, or?
No, that's a fantastic question. And I do touch upon that a little bit later.
Okay.
In the sense that you need to be careful what you share. But one of the great things about using OneDrive is it is totally HIPAA and FERPA compliant. So you can put any kinds of student information that you want there and feel safe about nobody else being able to get into it. That being said, because it is on the cloud and you have the ability to share it with folks, that's why you need to be a little bit careful about what you actually share. Of course, there's always the same security issues. Never share your password with anyone, those kind of things. If you do share your password with folks, if you let students share or just use your machine once you're logged in, they could potentially see and get access to all your stuff. So all the same rules apply. However, OneDrive is super safe in the sense that it's HIPAA and FERPA compliant. So you can feel okay putting student information there. You just need to be careful who you share it with. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we go into the sharing portion. Do we have any other questions around that line? Or any other follow-ups? It's a great question. And actually a question we got in the last session, this morning session too. So it's clearly on people's minds. Okay, moving along. We're going to talk about how to get into your OneDrive. But first, this is something that causes folks a little bit of confusion. There are 2 ways to use your OneDrive. The first way, and that's the way we're going to be going over mainly in this training, is through the web, using your web browser. You access it through your BCC email. The second way is through the installed client, It runs in the taskbar down near the clock in the lower corner. If you're on a Mac, it's up on the bottom. And that comes installed as part of Microsoft Office. And it makes it super easy if you want to share all of your work files, because once you install that client, anything you put in your OneDrive, it just kind of makes a copy of it anywhere. And here's some benefits of each way. From the web, you can access it from any computer. You just need the internet, no software, just a web browser, which all computers come with. And the install client does that automatic file sync. So if you're on a computer that you use all the time, such as a BCC issued computer, it can make your life a lot easier, especially if you're doing work from home, those kind of things. I'm also seeing that there's some private questions coming through. Don't worry, I'm going to answer your questions at some point. Just need to get through the training part, okay? So there's also a bonus third way to access OneDrive. That's the mobile apps. They're available for iOS, Android, also for Chromebooks. They're great for reading documents, but you got to be super careful. They are not great for creating documents, for editing documents. They just don't have a full keyboard in most cases, and it's just an invitation for headache if you try to edit a document on your smartphone. It's just not a fun way. So here's how to log into OneDrive on the web. And the reason why we're focusing on this in the training is because you can do this on any computer on the internet with a web browser. You don't need to have any special software. So you use the My BCC link at the top of the website to access the portal. You go to your email inbox by clicking on the email link inside the portal. And once you're in your email, there's a little box of boxes is how I describe it. Microsoft calls it the launcher. And that launcher is what you use to launch all of the other apps that are online apps. You'll see Word, Excel, PowerPoint in there. OneDrive is the one that we're talking about today, though. So you would click right on OneDrive to get in there. And once you're in there, this is what OneDrive on the web looks like. You'll see a list of files. On the left side is the sidebar, where you can browse between files, recent, shared, and your recycle bin. I'm going to actually go over that a little bit later. In the main largest area, that's the list of files, folders, the contents of your OneDrive. That launcher, notice it is always there. It's always in that upper left corner. That's how you get back to your email or into the other online apps, such as Word Online, PowerPoint Online. In the middle here, we have breadcrumbs. If we have any folks who use Moodle here, you'll be super familiar with those. Moodle uses breadcrumbs for navigation. To summarize, basically, if you were to click on any one of these names here, you would jump right to that folder. So if you have buried folders, it's a quick way to navigate around. Up top, we have some action buttons. Once you select items, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide, those are the actions you can do to those items. So on that left side, like I promised, we've got the file type area where you can see the different file icons. Here we have some folders, some Word files, some PDFs. Then we have the file name itself, some details about the file, and its sharing status. You will see that here we have some files that are private, which means that only you can see them. And we also have some shared stuff. We're going to talk more about shared stuff later on. Viewing a file, super easy. You click the file's name. If OneDrive can open it, if it can view it, it will. If it cannot open it, it'll download it to your computer. And a good example of a file it'll download to your computer is, let's say we've got like a Adobe Photoshop. Microsoft Office can't open Adobe Photoshop files, so it'll download it to your computer, thinking that if you have Photoshop installed, you can click on it and open it. So it views all different kinds of files, documents, images, videos, 3D things, medical files, all kinds of text and code files. It will view all kinds of stuff. But in order to view stuff, you need to get things there first. So uploading to OneDrive is how you get your files into OneDrive. And before I go on to uploading, does anyone have any questions about how to log into OneDrive? I'm going to be sharing all of this stuff out to everyone, so you don't need to take notes for this presentation. Should have said that at the beginning. Everyone's going to get a copy of this presentation in their email. So all of these instructions, you're going to have a copy of them. And I'm also going to be making some quick videos that will show really, really briefly how to get logged into OneDrive. So if you've got questions about the little steps, the details about logging in, just hang tight. I'm going to get that to everybody a bit later on. So do I have any questions? Going once. Twice. Okay, moving on. So uploading is how you get your files into OneDrive. You can upload files, or if you have a lot of files, you can upload an entire folder worth of stuff. You just click the upload button to begin. You choose your files or your folder. They're going to be on your desktop, your documents, anywhere in there. And then you click the open or upload button to initiate the upload. You can drag and drop files in. That's my favorite way. You just kind of drop them into the window. And big files upload in the background. So if you've got a super big file like a video or something with a lot of media in it, it might take a little while to upload. That'll happen in the background. You just got to keep the window open while it uploads. It'll tell you. And then you can also download files. And the reasons you would download files, let's say you need to work in the full version of Word, Excel, or one of those softwares. The online version of Excel does not have a lot of options. So if you want to work on an Excel file, chances are pretty good you're going to need to open it in the full version, and you might want to download the file for that. Full versions have a lot of features. I kind of touched upon that a little bit. And you can work on the file that it can't edit or view, like I talked about that Photoshop file. And just to have a local copy. Maybe you uploaded some stuff as a backup and now you are pulling it down. So I see I've got a question here. If you already have shared files on the network and upload to OneDrive, will the sharing continue automatically? If they are shared things like the H drive, the P drive, no. You basically just made a copy of that file to your OneDrive, and you would have to share that copy with folks if you wanted that to be the working version going forward. So if you're working on the version you just put on your OneDrive and people keep working on the shared drive file, then what's going to happen is you're going to be working in an older version on your OneDrive, and it's not going to have any of those edits. So that's one of the reasons if you're going to make a new working version as a OneDrive file, share it to everybody that you want to work with and let them know this is the new working version. I hope that answered your question. Moving on. Downloading from OneDrive. So to download files, you select your files or your folder. Again, just like uploading, you can do an entire folder. For multiple files, you use the selection column. I'm going to show that in a moment. Click download. If it's multiple files and folders, it downloads as a zip file. For folks who are familiar with those, a zip file is basically a way to take multiple files and make them one file. So that's how folders come over. So here is how we download. You can see the download buttons up top. We've got a selection column on the side. So right now we've got those two files selected. And when you'll see that there's a cancel selection all the way in the upper right. It's a really weird place to put it. But once you're ready to download, you just click that download button and it'll download those files that you've selected to your computer. Making a folder in OneDrive is a great idea if you've got a lot of stuff. It can make for easier sharing a group of files as well. You can share a folder instead of an individual file. To make a folder, you just click New. You choose Folder, and you give it a name, choose Create. So next we're going to move on to sharing in OneDrive. Before we do that, I'm going to pause for another moment, see if we have any more questions. Does anyone have any questions about uploading or downloading? And keep in mind, if you're using the installed OneDrive app, that's going to do a lot of the uploading and downloading for you in the background. You can entirely skip these previous steps if you're using that OneDrive app. And I'm going to demonstrate a lot of these things at the end of this training, once we go over sharing and printing. Awesome. Okay, going once for questions, and twice. By the way, we are now up to 20 participants in this training. Thank you everybody for coming. And for those of you who might be wondering, yes, Slidell is still sleeping. He looks He looks like he's not impressed by this training at all. All right, cats make the best audience. That's what I always say. All right, moving on. Sharing in OneDrive. You can share individual files or entire folders. You can share with anyone. All you need is an email address. So if you have folks from another college, another place of business you want to share with, you can do that. You just need their email address. I'm going to show you how to do that. First, though, this is a little bit about what I talked about, that personally identifiable information. You want to be super careful if you are sharing stuff that has any kind of personally identifiable information, such as names, social security numbers, financial information. Basically, if you wouldn't want someone to share that stuff of yours, you probably wouldn't want to share it to other folks. Doesn't mean that you can't put this information in your OneDrive. Just be very careful how you share it. And I'm going to show you when we go over the demonstration at the end, how you can see if things shared or not. There's basically a shared column, a status column that shows you, but I'll show you that. So there's multiple different ways to share. We're going to be going over our recommended method. And the reason we recommend it is because it goes by email address, which can make it easy to figure out who you're sharing with, even if it's someone from off campus. And it shares via an email link with a personalized message. Sometimes a lot of phishing attacks will come through and they will look a little bit, oops, I went a little bit too far. They will look a little bit like they are they're spam. So if you give a little bit of a personalized message before you share the file, such as here's the file from the meeting, it takes that guess out of it, and the person will know, hey, this is really real, and this is a safe file to open. So here we are. These are the steps for sharing, and we're going to watch this way more than once. And I'm going to explain it too. So we're sharing with specific people. In this case, just one person. We're going to click on the Outlook button, which is going to let us give that custom message. And then we're going to type that custom message in. Okay, here it is again. There's the share button. And we're changing it from anyone with the link to specific people. Mind that allow editing. You can keep it checked if you want the other people you're sharing it with to edit it. Depends on what your goal is. Then Outlook for the personalized message. Here we are typing in the personalized message and then click send. Okay, I'm going to break down the steps and then we're going to watch the video again. So here's the steps. That share button, that's what it looks like. It looks like that little kind of box with an arrow coming out of it. From the drop down, you choose specific people. Mind that allow editing box. And use a full email address for non-BCC folks. And keep adding as many people as you wish. In the example, I add only one, but you can add as many people as you wish. Then you click the Outlook icon, enter a subject and a personalized message, and then you click send. And it looks like, okay, so here's that video again. Share. Specific people. Mind the editing. Then we find the people we're sharing it with, add as many as we like, in this case only one, and then Outlook for the customizable message. Type that message in. And here's the video looping. Okay, so before we go on to unsharing, do I have any questions? Questions about sharing? I'm going to demonstrate all of this at the end as well. In fact, we're almost at the end of this presentation. Then we're going to do some live demonstration and take folks' questions. Okay, moving on, unsharing. It's through the detailed shared status screen. It's a little weird, but it's pretty easy once you see. There's that sharing column that I mentioned. That's how you tell if things are shared or not. So in this case, you can see we've got a bunch of private files, a couple shared ones. When we click on that sharing file status, we can see here who it's shared with. So it gives us a little preview of the document, who it's shared with, in this case, just one person. To remove the access, we click on that modify access. And then at the very top, there's a big stop sharing button. It asks you, are you sure? And then you click stop sharing, and then it's not shared anymore. All right, and here's a little bit more on how to find your files. We mentioned that bar on the left side. Underneath files, there's one that's called recent. I love this area because it always shows the files that you've been working in recently or the ones that have been recently shared to you. So chances are, if it's something you've been working with, it's going to appear right in this list. So you just click right on recent and scroll down. There's a big long list on the side. So if you don't see what you're looking for, scroll down. Also, there's a shared tab where it shows not only files shared with you, but also files that you are sharing. This can be a great way to click through and remind yourself what you might be sharing with. And if all else fails, there's a big search box right below the launcher in the upper left. You could type whatever you're looking for in there. You can see I typed OneDrive here, found some files, I found a JPEG. And if you click on see more results, it'll find even more stuff that it couldn't list on that front page. Now, really quick about printing, we talked about how you can open files. We get a lot of questions about this over in the Digital Commons. It can be a little tricky. You do not want to use the file print or Control-P shortcut in your web browser. You're instead going to look for a print button inside of OneDrive near the top of your document. And to make it more complicated, Word Online has its own stuff. So here we are. Here's a file button. That's not going to help us out. We want to use the print button that's that's closest to our content. You can see here we are in Word Online, and we've got two file menus. In this case, we use the file menu that's closest to our content. This one right here. And the most common sign that you've used the wrong print button is you get a blank page or a single page or a mostly blank page. That usually means you use the wrong print button. Again, you're going to use the print button closest to your content. So a couple real quick things, then I'm going to get into the demonstration, take some questions. There's a version history in OneDrive, which is awesome. You can go back to the way a file looked at any point in its history. You can pull it out, make it look like it did last Tuesday if you like. You can make a Dropbox where people from other institutions can upload large files for you, something that might be too big to email or send some other way. They can put a giant video in there for you. You can just make a Dropbox. And if you want to learn how to do that, just get in touch with me. I can show you. And the mobile app is super handy. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. You can use that to take a meeting handout, a piece of paper, instantly make it a PDF that saves to your OneDrive, and then you can even email that out. So you can email out a paper attachment from a meeting before folks even leave the meeting. So that is it for the demonstration. Right now, I'm going to see if folks have any questions. Does anyone have any questions for me? Any questions at all? Okay, I'm just going to check the chat real quick. All right. I do not see any questions, so now I'm going to go on to the demonstration part. I'm going to show how to log into your OneDrive, and then I am going to show you a couple of different things, how to upload files, how to download files. So here we are on the main BCC website. This should look pretty familiar to everybody. I'm going to click on my BCC. And I'm going to log right in. So this is our portal page. Remember, you get there by going through your email. So we're going to load into our email. In this case, I've already previously signed in. So I'm just going to click the buttons. And once the email loads, here's our launcher in the upper left. Then we click on OneDrive. All right, so here we are in my OneDrive, and we can view files by just clicking in. So here I've got a folder called BCC Logos. And these are just regular JPEGs and things. So if I click on them, here they are to view. This is just a logo. If I wanted to, doesn't look like there's a print option up here, but there is a download option. So here's some of our choices that we have. To close it, we'll click this little X here. Just be mindful when you work within tabs. Tabs can be a little tricky. It can also be a good way to lose your stuff sometimes. So here's those breadcrumbs. I'm going to click back on Files. If I wanted to upload a file or folder, here's that upload button up here. I can choose files or a whole folder. If I wanted to upload a file, I just click on that. Here's all kinds of files that I can upload. I wanted to upload this, we just click on it, say upload, and there it is, uploading right there. Now it's done. Uploaded one document. Now if we wanted to share that document, scroll down. Clicking refresh because my browser is being a little sluggish. Just clicked on recent over on the side so we can see some of my recent files. So here's some files that I worked in not too long ago. Here's some files that I've shared, some files that are shared by me. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned the installed OneDrive. Sometimes it's referred to as the connector. That runs down in your taskbar. You can see it down here. It's the little cloud. And if you click on it, you can see all the different files that it's updated recently. And if you click on Open Folder, you can view the contents of your OneDrive and notice that if I go back to my files and view the contents of my OneDrive, you'll see this is all the same stuff. So this OneDrive installed program here automatically refreshes and makes a special folder on my computer that saves all of my OneDrive stuff. And whenever I make any changes, it automatically uploads it to the cloud. So if you're working from home on a BCC computer, you probably want to use this installed software right here. That's going to make your life a whole lot easier. So let me show real quick how to share something. Here's some of these files. Here's the one that I just recently uploaded. So let's say I want to share this. We just click on the share button. We go to specific people. If we want to allow editing or not, that's entirely up to us. If we uncheck it, that means they won't be able to make changes. And then we start to type people's names in or email addresses if they're from somewhere else. So let's say I'm sharing this with Lauren. Then I click on Outlook if I want to make that custom message. And it pops it right up. There's not really anything that I need to do. Or at least it's supposed to. You gotta love live trainings. There it is. And then this is where our custom message would be. And then you'd send away. In this case though, I'm just gonna discard this. All right. So we've gone over all the basics. We've gone over all the general things. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Remember, if you do, you got to unmute yourself and ask the question or use the chat. If there are no questions, remember, folks can also reach out and schedule one-on-ones with me. Awesome. You are very welcome. Okay, I know there's a lot of folks here, so if anyone's shy about asking questions, you can always ask me questions via email. Like I said, I schedule one-on-ones. My calendar's starting to fill up, so if you have any, just let me know. But if there are no questions, I'm going to wrap things up. Tomorrow, once the trainings are all over, I'm going to be sending out the materials to everyone and also other stuff. Oh, I see. Why don't you message under the name and rather select Outlook? I'm not sure what you mean, but I would love to answer your question. Can you think of another way to ask that, maybe? You're very welcome, Chris. Okay, going once on more questions. Twice. Thank you, Ellis. Oh, I see a question here. When sharing, you can add message under name and not select Outlook. That's true, but then it doesn't give you the opportunity to do that personalized message. And sometimes the automatically generated messages can look very spammy, very fishy. So that's why we like to show folks how to do the custom message by clicking on Outlook, just to make it look less spammy. And then you can put in your own message. Again, there's a bunch of different ways to share files. So this is just the one that we recommend because we think it makes it the most clear to folks that, hey, so-and-so has shared this file to you. I hope that answers your question, Heather. If not, please let me know and I can try again, or I could look it up too. Awesome. Okay, one last call for questions. This has been awesome, everyone. I think at our most, we had over 20 people in here. Yay, hand clap. All right, everybody, thank you. Like I said, I'll be sending out a bunch of materials very soon. So keep an eye on your email. There'll be really quick videos and some documents too to show you how to do all this stuff. So just keep an eye on your email. That's going to go out to the everyone list. All right, thank you everyone very much. If you still have more questions, you can always attend one of the sessions tomorrow or reach out to me one-on-one. Have a great day, everybody.